Beep beep. What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial I've been putting off just due to the fact that I feel it's very basic. However, it keeps getting requested, and that is going to be the Boris Brejcha bass sound design tutorial that you guys have been requesting. Now, for this tutorial, guys, I'm going to teach you guys how to make two basic sounds that he utilizes a lot, and that is going to be the saw and the square bass. I'm going to teach you guys how to program them properly. From that, we're going to be targeting more of the trickier ones, like his bass line in I Am the Joker, which has like this gnarly ravey saw and a bass layered together, and then his track the Troublemakerz has this crazy wub that he uses in the middle of the track. And then we're also going to be looking at the sound design of his track Hastag to create similar sounds to those, so you guys can do them yourself as well and learn from it to create your own sounds like him. With that being said, guys, if you guys want to support the channel and you're looking for techno presets for Serum, make sure to check out the Kraken and Paradox. Those are going to contain some dope sounds you can use in this style as well as modern techno. And with that being said, let's get started. All right, guys, now the first patches we're creating are simple. They're very basic. However, there are a few variations you can do with them to make them sound different. And one of the things that Boris does really well in his tracks is that he has multiple bass lines going off at certain points to create a cool groove. But with this simple patch, you're going to be able to create a lot of the variations that he has in his music. You're just going to have to program them differently. Now, there's a in the studio video of him where he uses the Focus One, or sorry, not the Focus One, but the Fat Filter One synth, which is just a very basic synth with saw, square, white noise, low pass filter, and whatnot. So it's safe to say that a lot of his bass lines are going to stem from that. That synth is just very basic, and we can do a lot of stuff in that synth can do inside of Serum. Now, the first thing we're going to use is a square. It's going to be one of the better bass lines you can get if you're trying to go for very heavy, very dirty bass lines. You can make the square sound deep as well as maintaining a bit of mid-low to make sure that the notes, the bass notes you play when you're playing super low in the scale, let's say you're going down to D or C, you'll still be able to hear them. From here, we're going to turn this arm face down so that the phase isn't allowed to start anywhere, because if we have this at the arm face up, it's allowing the square to start, the face to start anywhere, and it can create a few changes in the bass where it doesn't sound the same on every hit. So if I put this arm face, you can hear the difference. When the arm face up, it's a little bit more loose, but we want the arm face down so it maintains that power all the way through every time you hit that bass. From there, we're going to use an oscillator B, which is going to be a saw, and the reason for that is that we want to layer this up an octave with this guy and then filter that, so that when we play these low notes, you can still hear them, okay? That is the main purpose of the saw here. However, when we have the saw here, you add a bit of saw characteristics to the bass, and you can get some really cool stuff. Now here, we're just going to create a pretty standard sub that he uses a lot by putting an MG Low 24, which allows less of the highs out. A bit of drive. And then we're going to add a bit of mono legato here with always. This is going to allow us to get a very deep bass that, again, you're going to be able to hear in those low C notes. If I get rid of this, you can still hear that, but it's not as strong as there. So that's another thing that I see a lot of people have trouble with. They're like, Sam, I'm trying to make a song in the key of D, but every time I hit that D, it doesn't sound as strong as G. What do I do? This is what you do. And don't forget to put that saw, again, arm face down. And you can switch this phase on this one, maybe to the starting position there. Once we have that, we can do a lot of cool things from here. The first one is we can create more of a punchier bass line by just utilizing the envelope here or envelope 2 and opening this filter up just a bit. You don't want to open it up all the way, but just enough. So you get a very strong bass there. You don't even have to make it go all the way up. You can lower the... Just get that. If you want to open up all the way, that's fine too, and that's another bass he uses a lot. It's a bit more of a mid-tempo-y bass, but it works. All right, now maybe not all the way up. A little bit punchier as well. Okay, from here, let's say you open it up. One of the things he does is he likes to have a bit of resonance in certain shots. Another thing we can do is we can apply a down sample, which is something I've heard in one of his tracks. Here you can get rid of this square and just have a to get that really nice vibe. You can also have a saw with resonance to get more of that kind of resonance sweep that he tends to use in some of his songs. Again, very simple sound design as you guys can see, but the key thing is just programming it differently and having the right thing so that you get a proper bass, a proper sound. You can also distort this and then just get this a bit punchier by getting envelope 1, which is routed to the volume. More of that percussive bass. Now, another thing here is, again, with the saw, we can do a lot like the rolling bass lines that he likes to use. All you would have to do is do the 116 trick on that. We use an ARP here from Ableton and just have this going at 116. And then just get your decay values right. Mess with the gate. Add a down sample if you want. Now, another cool thing we can do with the basic patches, guys, is just create the wubs. Like, for instance, there's a song he has called Der Virus, which has a more old school electro house vibe to it, which could be one of the bass lines you guys wanted. But in essence, it's still the same concept we have here. Maybe not the saw, maybe have the saw. It's totally up to you. But we can create those nice wubs that he has, and then we can open up the filter more so we get more of the nice kind of vibe there. We can add a bit of white noise to get a bit of a whoosh kind of vibe to it. If we distort that, we start to get more of that nasty electro vibe sound, like straight up like 2008, 2012, back again, baby. But the other thing too is when you do that and have a very punchy sound, you know, you can get very cool kind of sound out of it. You don't have to go with the close ones like I was saying. You can also but in essence, guys, these are kind of like basic waveforms, but they just sound great. The square is also another cool one we can do. Now, another bass he has a lot that we can create with this is a simple one. And here what we're going to do is just go with like a saw in this one instead. And that is going to be to create sort of like a Reese bass. But we're doing it the analog way. And what we're going to do is treat this more as a punchy bass. And this is something he does a lot. And that's going to give you more of that kind of movement kind of bass, which is punchy, and he uses in a lot of his newer stuff and older stuff as well. And you can also use this as kind of like a very ravey one. And if you want the Reese bass he uses in his breaks, you just put the sustain up. So the key here is with the fine, you can control sort of like the movement. We can get that sound. You can also put it up an octave here. And that gives you a really nice kind of Reese bass that you can use. Or again, use it like a punch. And you can also open it up to get. And finally, the last thing is just a standard saw that we can use. Just distort a bit on it. And make sure to mono legato it. You get really... And you slide it to get that nice kind of old school Boris Brejcha kind of bass. Now for the first patch here from the Troublemakerz song, guys, we're going to make something similar to it. Not exactly the same, as it's very hard to get it how he has it. It sounds a bit more degraded in quality than the one we're creating here. But it should kind of show you how you can create these kind of sick... it's kind of wubs. Now here we're going to be using two saws, and you can choose to detune them or not. It's totally up to you. We get a similar vibe if we don't detune either way. And we're going to use a bit of white noise. The reason for the white noise is going to be, as you can see, when we route it through this filter and we set this shape properly like this, like a wub, we get that white noise just kind of just giving us a little bit of a kind of vibe there. We can increase. So you get the idea there. Here we're just going to have to shape this properly, maybe a bit of a... Just a little bit of a tack to give it that nice kind of wubby vibe to it. From here, if we distort heavily now, you're going to see we get something a little bit dirtier, more Boris Brejcha kind of style here. Now the last thing here, which I feel like he did use, is a sync, and we're gonna automate the sync to this cutoff or this envelope here, and this is gonna give us a very nasty, as you're gonna see, growl. Okay, let's lower that down a bit more so it's not so abrupt. Okay, we can put this up an octave. You can distort less, and you can use different types of distortion, which gives different vibes. This one's hard. All right, from there we can put a bit of reverb. Let's lower that down a bit. Okay, now if you want this in mono, put the warp down, or sorry, the width here in the global section, and we get very... Now the thing with it is that the song has this nice kind of tone to it. It doesn't sound so clean as this one does, so it could be a bit of the post-processing done to the sound. But this gets us pretty close to that kind of nice sound that he uses in the song. You can definitely use higher layers if you want, which gives us more of that sound. You can sync up more, but I feel like it just makes it sound not tonal. More of a strong, like just a wub, a strong wub there. Now, another thing he does in the song is that he has the resonance high to get this very nice kind of sound. Kind of like crazy. Here, we're going to add a bit more. And it just gets... they're kind of like cutting there through the damn mic. Okay, and you can mess with to get different vibes. Lower that. So it's a very nasty one. You can make this even shorter if you want. Okay, now there's another variation to the sound, and this one's a little bit different where the attack is increased a little bit, and then we get kind of like that kind of vibe, if that's what you want. You can mono legato that so you can kind of glide between. Okay, so you can do a lot of cool stuff with that, and if you don't like the distortion, just ease up on, and you get more of a Reese kind of bass there. Okay, so this is going to be one of the sounds identical to it, but not exactly like it, but close enough where I can show it to you guys and feel like you can get a lot out of it. Because from here, we can definitely switch this up, do a +7 if that's what you want, which is not something Boris does, but... and then you can make it wide as well, which is just going to sound a little bit more modern. Okay. And you can just call that. Okay. So that's going to be one of the sounds. Now the next track is Hastag, which has this really nice kind of hit to it. Essentially what it is, it's a saw being detuned a bit. And we're going to mono it. And then we're just going to add a bandpass on it. With that, you pick your flavor. Maybe a 24, just so we don't get those low. And then we're just gonna layer that with like a sub underneath, so you can use like a triangle wave. If you want more highs, you open up the cutoff. And then you can distort a bit to get some cool stuff, but the song doesn't have that. Essentially, the song has just a layer like so, and then it's going to have a lower sub that's already playing throughout the song. But that's a cool technique to have in the sense that you can layer these kind of saws and stuff with a bandpass to get this nice kind of tone to it, and then get a bass that sounds really cool and certain offshots here and there. And then you can detune less or more. The other thing you can do is also just run 2 saws if you want, and then use an analog technique here with the. And I think that's going to sound a lot cleaner than going with the global and lowering down the width. But again, I'll leave it up to you guys on how you want to approach that, because from here we just add a triangle. And you can get some really cool kind of gritty style of bass lines like he has in this track, Hastag. And again, in the track Hastag, it's bop, dum, dum, bop, dum, dum, ba. So you have 2 bass lines layers going on. This is going to be one of the top ones again, but a really cool sound. And finally, guys, the last sound is a bit of a super saw. It has a certain tone to it for sure. And I feel like that just has to do with the synth that you're going to be utilizing, the way the saw sounds. However, that here, we're going to pretty much create a super saw. And you don't want to go with a super saw if you don't want that ravey. Because when you go lower voices, it allows for it just sounds a little bit more mischievous with lower voices and higher voices, guys. But those are the sounds that I wanted to kind of go over. I feel like the basic patches are where it's at for most of his bass lines. But for some of the songs, he does have some unique stuff like this where he utilizes a super saw in a unique way that you haven't heard in other songs. And I really like that about his music, guys. Here, if you want to add, you can also go up an octave with another super saw. Just to give more of a vibe there. But in essence, guys, that's going to be it. Again, very basic tutorial in my opinion. That's why I was kind of pushing it away for a bit. But if you guys have recommendations for certain songs that he has, maybe I can make a future tutorial on specific sounds that you guys might have from him that you wanted to learn how to make. But other than that, I feel like this is the majority. The basic patches and then some of the unique ones that you guys saw in order to create those kind of bass lines. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. And I'll see you guys next time, guys. You guys take care and peace out.